Well, hello, hello. Welcome back, wonderful technologist. Welcome back to the podcast. It is been an interesting start to the week. Let's put it. So the weather's really crappy, and of course, it's getting cold. So we know that winter is definitely on its way. It's coming. So, yeah. And we're starting to see just that increase of pneumonias, RSV, COVID spikes, things like that in the hospital. So, causing me to work overtime. And I know I haven't really been showing up, on Instagram. So, I apologize for that. So, me as a working mom, things are just like crazy, but I have some good things that I'm putting in the works as far as courses and reels, TikToks, things like that. So make sure you watch out for that. So I'll be bringing you some content, before the year is done. Okay. So hope you guys are having a good start to your week. Always love to hear what you guys are up to. Any issues, problems, questions you have as far as CT scanning and the whole 9 yards. Don't hesitate to shoot me an email or send me a DM on Instagram. I'm always willing and available to answer all your questions. So, in this episode, I know I've talked about this probably in videos that I've done or any other type of content. Let's talk about CT training and if 6 weeks of training as a new technologist, or even if you come from another hospital into a newer hospital, maybe you're not familiar with the equipment that they have, or just their policies and procedures and routines and things like that. Is 6 weeks of training really enough to get you up to speed? Now, I want you to think about that question for a minute. You get 6 weeks training, okay? So that's probably like a month and a half per se. It's not really 2 months. I know as a new technologist, I'm going to be really honest, that is not enough, because we all know that CT has a lot of moving parts. There is a lot of dynamics that go into it. There is a lot of just exams, and some of them are complicated. Some of them are very advanced. It is a lot for a new technologist who has never worked in CT, has never looked at a CT image ever, like in their entire life, to really grasp what they need and really learn all the ins and outs of basically how CT operates and how you execute that optimal exam. Now, I'm not saying that 6 weeks of training can get you up to speed as far as you hardwiring the process of how you start your exam to how you set the patient up and then you execute it. I mean, in 6 weeks' time, I think we can learn just the bread and butter, just your basic core exams. I'm pretty confident in that because I have trained a lot of techs in my day, and in 6 weeks, I can get them up to speed to do a, head CT, a abdomen pelvis, a PE study, and execute it correctly. Now, what I'm talking about is 6 weeks training is to know everything that there is to know about CT. And I really don't think that 6 weeks, oh, well, there you go. They're inexperienced technologists. No, they need more time. They need more education. They need to properly train and know if you have to adjust your technical factors. How do you do that? If you need to go back because somewhere the patient got sick during the exam, how do you go back and rescan those images? Just, that section that you need. Those are the things of the whys and the hows of computed tomography that I think 6 weeks of training, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's why in the last episode, I had said that they need to bring back more hospital-based programs so that techs can have the proper education, whether it's monthly, biweekly, whatever the case is. I would say monthly because, our departments get really busy, and to do things like on a biweekly basis is kind of hard. And even if it's self-paced, once a month, and have them earn like a couple CE points, that would be great, which I'm actually kind of in the process of creating something like that. So that's an exciting avenue for me. So stay tuned for that. Now, I just think that if you're a seasoned technologist, it's a little bit easier to grasp when you come into a new facility, you get a new job somewhere else, or you get a second job, or whatever the case is, that you basically need to know their policy and procedures, how they operate, as far as contrast, what to do if there's an infiltration, what policies they have as far as pregnancy, limits on GFR, creatinine, if you still do that, and how they perform their exams, because that's important. Like, as far as their protocols, how to execute. So you give the radiologists all the diagnostic imaging and all the reformats that you need. So it's super important. And it's a little bit easier as a seasoned technologist because you go in there, you already know how to scan. And you just go in there and you need to either learn the equipment or learn how they do things the way they do at that facility, right? So it's a little bit easier. But when it comes to somebody who's brand new and they say, oh, well, we're going to give you 6 weeks of training and we expect you, to operate on your own. Sometimes that is not enough for a brand new person. Sometimes they need more time. So this is what I'm going to give you for any new technologist that's listening to this episode. I want you to hear me when I say this. If your facility says, hey, we're going to give you, 6 weeks of training or 2 months of training, if you're not confident on how to execute the basic exams after that time, ask for more time. Ask for more time. Now, if they really care and they say, okay, because, and you can explain why, say, listen, if I don't know what I'm doing and I can't execute something properly, I can potentially harm the patient. Do they really want you to harm the patient? Probably not, right? So it is important for you to ask for more time. And you know what? Make sure that the technologist that is training you and giving you the education that you need, make sure that they give you the proper tools. So when you ask a bunch of questions, they're able to answer your questions. I can't tell you how many times I have walked into a facility and I've asked technologists, even though I'm a seasoned technologist, and if I go into a new establishment and I ask questions about, policy, procedures, how you execute this protocol, it is so frustrating when you get technologists, they go, oh, well, this is just how we do it. And they don't explain why. We always need to know the why because we want to make sure that our patients are safe. So what I would recommend to all of you listening to me right now is that you ask the proper questions. And if they give you a half-ass answer, go freaking ask somebody else. Ask another technologist in that department and say, listen, I need to know the whys of this. Can you please help me? Okay, because I tell you, there are technologists out there that are willing to help you make sure that you do the right thing. And there's some, because every facility has bad apples. Okay, they at least have one or two that they just don't care. And they just do, what they've been told to do for however many years they've been scanning. And they fit the stereotype, and I hate to say that, as the classic button pusher. Okay. And that's not what we want to be. We want to be good technologists that perform optimal exams, that get their patients their diagnoses, and help and take care of people. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So I hope I gave you some good tips in this episode. And I know I make my episodes short because I want them to be bite-sized. I want you to think about and just really grasp, what I'm saying and some of the tips and strategies that I give you throughout these episodes. So you can take it back and, think about it while you're out there on the floor and, scanning patients. So I hope this episode was helpful for you. Just so you know, I do have starter courses. So 101 CT courses. One is for CEs through Rad CEU providers. So you can go grab that. It's fairly cheap. I believe it's $38. Okay. So, and I also have another basics and concepts course that you can go ahead and purchase. All the links will be in the show notes. So if you need a refresher, if you're new, you need to place to start. I even have a course on cardiac exams that I will be uploading here soon. It's just that's a very complicated course, and there's a lot of pieces that go into that. So I am going to do some more courses as far as protocols, setting up image productions, things like that, just so you guys have something, education wise, and some other tips, that you could use. I'm also going to be bringing on some guests on the podcast. Yes, I got that in the works. So I am going to bring some guests, and I'm excited about that. And there is a few guests that I would love to have on this podcast so we can chit chat and just talk about all the things in radiology, CT, and all the things. So hope you guys have a wonderful week. Happy scanning, and make sure that you guys do the best job you can. And I will chat with you next week.